Am I audible? It's been such a beautiful day today. I hope you all agree with that. Because thanks to Mr. Balasubramaniam Jayam for creating this particular platform in Hyderabad to share such beautiful raw stories, and all the audience who are here, I wish there is something from my story too for you to take home. So I'm also somebody who is born and brought up in Telangana, and I'm so happy to hear amazing stories so far. All of them are so raw, and we can relate to these stories on our day-to-day basis, and I'm sure maybe not today, but sometime in our lives we might come across certain things. I'm born and brought up in a family mainly into farming background, but my parents are educated. I'm also blessed to have my maternal grandparents who are quite educated as well. Kaakapote pallettoorlo periganu. So what happens in a village, it's completely different to what we envision that our lives should be. So in my raw story, I'm sure we all love our virtual world where we can transform into something, and I'm sure most of the boys agree with me that how this the Transformers is one of our motivational movies these days, right? Like how a car can transform into a superhero and protect the world. So similarly, I can say that my raw story has a lot of transformations. For me, being that little rabbit in the family who was born very quiet, will never cross a line, and always would observe things around. So something changed when I was in class 6, when my teacher asked, what do you want to become? Okay? So the rest of the school, it's not my teacher, I think it's my correspondent who asked, yes. And he went around to every class where I was only 10 years old, and we were attacked by 25 decoys. Making it short, you can actually relate this to a movie called Khaki, where I've seen it with my daughters a few years ago. Karti's movie, yeah, Khaki. It's a similar story, but in there they'll only show about 5-6 people coming and attacking your house. I saw that entire thing with my own eyes, and I'm the only one who was not harmed by them. My dad lost his hearing, my mom lost all her teeth, my uncle had 120 stitches all over his head. My aunt, while she was just giving away her earrings, the other ear was cut off. So I saw all of this at that little, very tender age. And I should say, that transformed me. There's a lot of anger. That's one other emotion where I say that, because we're all made of a lot of emotions, right? So that rabbit has become a tigress. I can say that during those years, that there was a lot of anger inside me. There are a lot of questions that were unanswered. I said, why do we have to handle so much of nonsense in our life? And then I somehow turned into a rebel. And everything I used to question, and I would not pray to God, because this happened on the auspicious day of Shivratri, where the entire day all you do is puja and all of that. And I always saw my family doing all good deeds in the village and all of that. And why do we have to face such a day is always been a question. And then I also always had a struggle to understand how the world works around us. But over a period of time, I should say that, and during those years, while you're growing up in your teen years, you wanted to do something, and then suddenly everybody reminds you that you're a girl and you're not supposed to do these things. Are you a boy? This was the question that most irritated me. And I participated in games, sports, debates, school competitions in class and all. I topped my school in education, in sports, in debates, you name it, just to prove it to those people that I am no less. But eventually, over a period of time, I realized, why am I fighting against the entire world? All I need to do is try and understand how these things work. How can I turn it around? I still remember all my classmates, after I met them after 25 years of my school, told that they hated me the most when I was in school because, I wouldn't let them win in anything. Let it be, debate, let it be sports or whatever it is. I'm the only one who went to karate classes in the entire the town just to fight with boys. But that's a different ball game altogether. I would not physically go and fight with anyone as such, but just to feel that, somehow I need to get that anger out of me. Finally, I think later on, my college years and all, that is when I realized, boys are not bad, man. They are another, part of your life. Then I started seeing that, how can I improve rather than competing against another person? How can I compete with myself? What is that I see where I stand? What is that I can improve in me is what changed my life. From being that tigress to maybe, trying to being a giraffe, right? I know there are little too transformative, but then, yeah. So I was trying to reach out to understand how this works or how I can improve my qualities or how I can improve my attributes. Where do I lack or how does this world work? I became so, inquisitive to reach out for information, to try and do my research on various topics and all. I ended up becoming a designer and again, which was not my parents' choice. I think I received my first award as a best designer when I was 19 years old. And when I went home saying the best designer for the best traditional award for Miss Andhra, my dad was super disappointed. You know what, usually parents, they feel proud, right, when their children achieve certain things. My dad was not happy. And then the regular dialogue, కాళ్ళు ఇరుగుతాయి ఇంకొకసారి ఇట్లాంటి పిచ్చి వేషాలు వేస్తే. I'm sure some of you can relate to it. Yeah. And I said, okay, fine. I didn't want to oppose my parents and do something like that. But still, I said, okay, maybe I wanted to, choose another line. So a beautiful moment of my life where I somehow, where it transformed to a greater level is when I met my better half, or the best half, I should say, is my husband, who is here. And he stood like a strong pillar in whatever I wanted to do in life. Because until then, everything was I had to take permission and all of that. But my husband said, you don't need permissions. If you think it is right, go and achieve it. Win the world. I will be there to take care of everything. And he stood true to this particular promise that he gave me in every step of my life. You heard my daughters, 2 of those girls. I'm that proud mother. And I should say, they took after their father in empathy, in giving back to the society and all. Yeah, we are that little key and car in our family where, we change roles often whenever it is required, wherever it is required. So we moved to London and, after marriage. So I didn't know what to do if the kids arrive. So I went and did my child psychology. A giraffe. I wanted to understand how things work and all of that. Even though I was working, I did that. But I thought studying will not help me understand children. So I went and started working for schools in London to try and understand how to handle kids. I think after about 4 years, when I realized, I did work with regular kids, I did work with autistic kids, I did work with special needs, and so many more. And then I realized, yes, I am ready to have babies now. Because until then, when you have that uncertainty, whether will you be able to do justification on something, on a role that you take up, it is difficult for us to assume what we will be facing. But when you understand how it is going to be, and when you understand whatever comes your way, this is a way that you can actually face it, that gives so much of confidence. And I can say I'm one of those rare mothers who it is usually a very natural thing to have babies, but I'm those rare mothers who had to study to become a mother. Yes, and I'm super proud because not even one single day I felt that I won't be handling my children well in all these years. So I thought, why should I just keep it to myself? And then chose to come back to India and start a kindergarten school. And when we moved back, of course, my children were quite young, and I started a kindergarten, and over a period of time, I built it because the parents didn't want to leave the school. They wanted to be with me, and then every year we pushed on to one class above, and it's been 12 years, and then we have our 12th class going out of the school now from Fountainhead Global School. Thank you. So how would any of us make a difference in our own lives is when we think that we are the hero in our own life, right? When we look at a movie or when we listen to a story, how do we envision that particular main character as? If we can envision ourselves in a similar line, I'm sure we will have an amazing story to tell to our next generations, to our friends and our peers or whoever it is. So when I came to India, I was struggling with handling the kids, running the school, and again all the toddlers and all of that. And I wanted to have some time where I can work flexibly. So this helped me to look at what are the opportunities which are there. So I started, using all the probable tools on Google to run the school administration. More or less, they instilled Google Hangouts in our school when I wanted to invite somebody from another country to interact with our students. And they were surprised, even the Google team, they were surprised to understand, can somebody use all our tools and run her administration? Because I was training all my clients, all my parents and everyone, how do you use them? Create your own websites, create your class websites, content, inviting people from across the world to interact with our students, and many more. So they were they rolled out something called Women Entrepreneurs on the Web for 10,000 women who are in business to come online with Google. And they wanted to have a story to go to. And I became their story. And I became the Hyderabad champion for Google Women Entrepreneurs on the Web to help all these women to come online with Google. Thank you. And when we were doing that, Google felt so happy, saying that, Meghana, you're helping us so much. Is there something that we can do to help you? Then I said, we don't have a platform for education so that we can share the good practices of different schools or different teachers. And because being a young mother, I know, how much it is important to actually balance that work and also family. Because most of my teachers are young teachers, and then, young mothers. So they need to take care of their kids too, right? So I understood those challenges. I said, can my teachers teach from home using the same Google Hangout when they wanted to take leave? Because, parents wouldn't agree if the teacher is on leave for too many days, but children very young will fall sick very often. So how do I solve this? So then when I shared all these ideas and then, planted that little seed, they came back after 8 months, and we were the first Indian school to be mentioned by Google for Education India. So this happened in 2012, not now. And I started talking about how it is important to bring technology into education. A lot of schools did not understand that. And later on, I think just before the pandemic, when I visited, I did not know the pandemic was coming, but when I went, they said, Meghana, remember the seed that you saw is now is used by 90 million users across the world. I felt so happy. And during the pandemic, there's so many schools who approached. Until then, they used to be like, why would she talk about so much of technology? We are running the school so well without it. But during the pandemic, I say that so many schools reach out and said, Meghana, how much does it cost to actually do this online classes? I said, it is for free. Google is doing it for free. They were surprised, and there was a couple of school heads who shared that they were paying 16 lakhs per month to run their classes for their students. So this is how many other students or schools got their learning process in place during the pandemic. So whenever I look back, I used to feel really happy, like, oh, that little thought, that little idea went on helping a lot of people, including all the engineering students, not only just the school students, who use that platform to learn. And the learning never stopped even during the pandemic. I'm so happy for all the people who worked in technology to make this thing possible. To be able to face a pandemic is no joke. And let us give ourselves a big round of applause for creating heroes out of ourselves during this pandemic. We are the only generation until the next pandemic happens, that we will say that we are the warriors who survived that particular pandemic. So moving on, once while I was talking to my students about child rights and how, all these natural things like water bodies, mountains, forests, how it is their responsibility and how their voice matters, led to reviving Meedi Kunta Lake, which is close to our school. With the help of all my students, I was able to help them understand, put their learning into practice so that they understand experiential learning. When you experience is when you can transform the world. So when we were collecting the fund, when we got an estimate, they said it would take about 2.5-3 crores for us to revive that particular lake, which was basically dead. I told my students, if we collectively work together, there is nothing which is impossible. And my students believed in me. And this is a very small school of Hyderabad, let me tell you, and out of which only few students wanted to participate in this. And whoever believed in me raised a fund, letting going of their birthday celebrations, letting going of the money that their people who come to their house gave it to them as blessing. They bought that money and they said, let us revive this lake, ma'am, and we will want to do this for sure. I didn't want to step back. When I said when we can do things together, I wanted to be that person who believes, who stands on that word. And yeah, in the process, I took out all the other money which is needed. We only could collect 10% of it, and I didn't want my students to feel bad. So I said, at the same time, pandemic hit. All the CSR funds were diverted to save humanity. And my only opportunity to save my students' ability to trust, again, is to step in. So I took out all the money from my bank account and I said, let us go ahead and finish this particular project. And thanks to my husband, he stood so strong and we were able to complete that entire project. And today my students walk with such pride, saying that I, being a student of a school, could revive this lake. And they will never face a bad moment or a low moment in their life where they can't solve anything in their life. I created a small book for them. I told them, anytime you feel low, open this book. This will tell your journey of your lake revival. When you could revive a lake at the age of 5, 7, 13, nothing can scare you anytime ever in your life when life throws at you something. Because the biggest teacher that I strongly believe is life. It will teach us certain things that we have to learn no matter what. You have mentors, you don't have mentors, you have right upbringing, you don't have right upbringing, you have those right opportunities, you don't have right opportunities. It's all based on life that we make our choices in. I wish you all the best for making those right choices and being transformative. Yes, today we are in a world where we can transform from being a rabbit to a tigress to a giraffe to an elephant, where I'm recognized as one of the world's best top 50 teachers by Waki Foundation. And I stand here in front of you. Namaste. And thank you for Raw Stories, for giving me this half brick an opportunity to be able to build a better world for a sustainable tomorrow. What?